So this is everything I wish I knew about moving to Utah before I moved. And it's kind of going to be an update because I've been here for a while. So if you're looking to move to Utah, you've been here for a visit maybe in the past, but you never looked at it as like, this is what it's going to feel like to live here. I've created this video to give you everything that I was worried about or didn't know about when I first moved here, and kind of how I learned about it and how that's changed since I've been here. When I first moved here, I did not have a clue, outside of that it was a beautiful state, on what to expect. And some of the things that my friends and family were worried about before moving here were kind of the least of my worries. Number one was, what's the cost of living there compared to living in California? I knew it was going to be better, but it's actually changed from when I used to worry about it to kind of now. When I first moved here, it was a low to mid-level cost of living area, and now it's kind of a mid to high cost of living, depending on where you live and what costs you're talking about. Taxes have gone up. They've kind of gone up everywhere, but that used to be one of the really beneficial parts about living in Utah. Property taxes were relatively low. The more people have moving to Utah, the higher the taxes have gotten over the last 10 years, 15 years. The gas has always been kind of low here nationally, which is nice, especially because you drive a little bit more here in Utah to get from place to place. The cost of groceries stayed relatively stable, still pretty reasonable. You're not going to get the best produce here in Utah compared to California or even Texas, but it's still pretty good. And the higher quality you want, the more you're going to pay for it, as you guess. One thing that's changed a little bit better is a night out with the family or a date night. There used to be basically one restaurant, and it was some amalgamation of an Applebee's. No disrespect, Applebee's. But there just wasn't a lot of options out there. The more and more people that have relocated here to Utah from out of state, the better restaurants we've got. And we have more of them, and they're closer. That continues to be a trend that I see. It used to be when we first moved here, you had to travel a few miles to get a coffee somewhere. And so if you wanted to go to a coffee shop, you'd have to go 2 towns over, which was ridiculously sad. And now we're seeing more and more mom and pop coffee shops that pop up. And that's been awesome. Which leads me to another thing that I was worried about with Utah when we moved here. Why no coffee shops? What's going on with the state liquor stores? Here's the thing, people. Utah was started by the LDS Church. They've been here in this state and governed this state since it's been a state. So a lot of the guidelines that the church lives by tend to be the guidelines that you see in state politics. So even when we first moved here and you did find a coffee shop, unfortunately, most of the kids behind the bar did not know how to make a reasonable cappuccino because they didn't know how it was supposed to taste. You do have a state liquor store. So if you plan on having a party over the weekend, get there during the middle of the week, because come Friday, there'll be a line, pretty big line, especially around the holidays. There used to be a really weird law. Here's an update. You used to have to be part of a club to go to a bar. So you had to be a member of the club to be a part of that bar. That's since changed, which is nice. But you still have to have a meal in front of you if you're going to have a drink. So you have to order food first, which is kind of weird. So some of the laws have changed a little bit. Some of the lifestyle experiences have changed a little bit, which has been nice. If you're non-LDS and you're moving here, my mom was for sure, she thought for sure the Mormons were going to get me. the first month I got there. I'm like, Mom, they're not monsters. They don't jump out of bushes and grab you and dunk you in the water. You don't have to worry about it. But I will say this, you will get a knock on your door. You should know how to handle that, or talk about with your family how you want to handle that. It was our choice to be a part of the community without being part of the church. And we have never run into any problems with that or disrespect with that. We made that really clear right up front, and we still get invited to dinners, Christmas parties, and are entrenched within the community, but we don't go to church. So if you're wondering what that knock is at the door, it's church members or missionaries. There might be a different conversation for the different groups. So if it's missionaries, these are young men and women that are on their mission for the church to try to get more members to the church. So they want to send you the message and their experience and what the LDS faith is all about. Since I am married into a former LDS family, I have a pretty good idea of what that was about. And so our conversation went like, hey, thanks for coming over. Come on in. Can I get you something to eat or drink? Because they're usually out there for hours at a time. I wanted to make sure that they were safe and hear about how their experience was going, and then let them know that in no way, shape, or form was I going to be a member of the church. And we would have a good, cordial conversation, and most were really respectful about that. If it's church members that come over, these are your neighbors, and they want to invite you over to if you have kids, maybe they want to invite your kid over to Young Men, Young Women, which is a group activity where everybody gets together and maybe they sew buttons or make cookies or whatever the case may be. Just so you know, there will be prayer there. There will be stories about the church if you are going to allow your kids to go there, and feel free to join them if you're worried about that at all. And if at any time it feels uncomfortable, just let the people that are hosting there know that you guys are going to step out for a bit. There's no problem with that. Also, if you're non-LDS, one thing that I would really impress upon you is to find your community fast. If you are a member of the church, you know that wherever you go, you can kind of find a built-in community right away. When you move to Utah and you're not a member of the church, you don't have that built-in community right away. I would invite you to get out and meet people that enjoy life the way you do. If you're a skier, if you're a mountain biker, there are clubs galore that you can join and get with different groups that do the things that you like doing, and you can start building your community from there. But the earlier you get started, the quicker you can get into kind of feeling a little bit more part of a community here in Utah. Seasons change in Utah, sometimes all in one day. So I know everybody says that, like, oh, look, it's fall, there's leaves coming, and then it snowed and it was sunny. It's extreme here in Utah, really extreme. You can wake up to 15 degrees outside and snow, and then by noon it's sunny, the snow's melted, and then it will be sunny for the rest of the week, and then snow again, and it kind of gets all over the place, especially in the shoulder seasons, from fall to winter. But I mean, this winter in 2026 right now I think it is the lowest. I read today it's the lowest percentage of snow we've had since 1937, and it's 10 times lower than it was then. So that is extreme. There's no snow on the ground outside right now, and normally we have snow from the beginning of January to the end of February, early March. Number 5. I think this is number 5. Drivers suck in Utah. No joke. They suck. If you've heard of like the crappy things that drivers do on a freeway or around town where you live, it's 10 times worse here. People don't know how to like get up on a freeway ramp to get up to speed and time. Yeah, they do that on every freeway ramp here. It's a mess. People are on their phones going through intersections, on any intersection every day of the week. You could look to your right or left and you'll see somebody doing that. They don't know how to get out into the middle of the turn section when it's turn left on the little yellow flashing thing. They'll just sit there right at the line so that only they get through and everybody else behind them has to wait for the next light. So it's kind of like, when I first moved here, I thought, well, maybe these are people that have lived here their whole lives when it was a one-horse town. And now it's not a one-horse town anymore. It's a million-horse town, and they haven't changed their knowledge of how to drive it better. So here in Utah, a lot of people would like to say California drivers are the worst. Let me tell you something. I've lived in the busiest freeways of Los Angeles. California drivers are the best. People just think they're the worst because there's millions of us. So if you see a wreck on the side of the road, you go, oh, look, there's always a wreck. Well, that's because we have 10 times the traffic in California. But we're actually really great drivers because we have to be for safety's sake. Here, they need a lot of work on it. I think it's one of the worst in the nation. Sorry, Utah, but that's the facts. So here's something that I really didn't think about when we moved here, but it kind of surprised me. Homes in more rural areas that aren't, around the city center, like Salt Lake and Mill Creek and Sugar House, people have fences. But the further south you get into Salt Lake County or in Utah County, a lot of homes didn't have fences. It weirded me out when we first moved here. I was like asking my wife, what's going on with the no fences? But it's kind of a thing. So if you have dogs and you're looking at a home online and you're like, oh, this is a gorgeous home, and you actually are, need a fence, maybe do a zoom out before you get too excited about that house and make sure it's got a fence around it, or be okay to build a fence there. Because some of the more, like I said, the more kind of rural, larger lot neighborhoods where we live here in Alpine and Highland, some of them don't have fences. As more newer developments get built here in our area, you see more fences. But if you're looking for a resale of a home, they might not have a fence. Or you might have a neighbor that has half of a fence, and so that's half your fence, and a whole other side that has no fence. So it's something to think about if you're looking for a home and you really need a fence. That was just something that weirded me out when I moved here that I didn't even think about, because in California we have fences everywhere. So when I first moved here, I wanted to know how much of a cost of living benefit I was going to get moving here. During that time, it was almost a 50% raise of what I was giving myself just moving location. It's probably turned closer to 30% now, but that's still great, moving from California to Utah. I wanted to know what it was going to be like being in a predominant LDS faith community. I needed to know what the activity levels were going to be, what was available for me, what would a Friday night out feel like, and how were we going to get to meet people being new to the state. So I hope that this video has helped you answer some of those questions if those were things you were wondering about. And if you have any other questions that I might have missed, put them in the comments section, or you can hit the link below in the description and we can set up a phone call, a Zoom call. Make sure that your significant other is with you so that I can answer their questions as well. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can.